everyone. Happy Freya. Welcome to part 2 with Wrendi Starks here today. If you haven't heard part 1, go check out last week's episode because it's like her, ineffable and impactful. So please do so before you jump into part 2 here. But we're gonna get into the story because you have gone through quite a lot of extraordinary experiences in your life, and to that is an understatement. Your near-death experience, seeing past loved ones, seeing the man in the closet. If people don't know what that is, go see part 1. But there's right, and then seeing your star in incarnations, and I mean, you can't possibly capture somebody's life in an hour, 45 minutes, or whatever. But we're highlighting what we can today. So with all that being said, and opening up and seeing into the spirit realm, let's say that, you can see into the spirit realm, your veil was lifted, your amnesia is gone. Who helped, who are your mentors who helped you on your journey to guide you through this whole process?
I'm going to give you some names, and I'll just kind of give them, I'm not going to talk a lot about what they are, or like as a professional, I'll just kind of make this quick. So grandmother Patty, she was my teacher for the Hopi medicine path. And then I would like to mention Chaz. I'm not going to say his last name just for privacy, but he is a mountain man, the real deal cowboy. He rode his horse across the United States. It took him 3 years. He lived with the Plains Indians. Like, he's the real deal, and he's the one that guided me on a 3-day vision quest. And so that was amazing, and he's been an amazing mentor. Nancy Sudbury Simpson, she won't mind if I say her full name. She's a Reiki master. She was my Reiki teacher. And really, just outside of Reiki, I spent so much time with her. I felt very safe with her because she understood what was happening to me and what I was going through, and really helped me to understand it myself and to stay calm, because there were times where it was turbulent. Kathy Lafitte, she actually took, I believe it was the QHHT Dolores Cannon's class, and she's a hypnotherapist. But above and beyond all of that, she's my best friend and now sister-in-law since she met my brother. And so I'm so happy she's family. She helped me in ways that she's amazing. Alice Christensen, she is my Theta healing teacher. I got certified in Theta healing as a practitioner through her. She's incredible. And then Alex Collier, I first found him on YouTube, and then I was like, oh, I've got to talk to this guy. And I ended up going to a conference in Mount Shasta with a friend. And when I looked, I just was like, yeah, I'm down, I'm going to go. And I was already at the conference when I found out Alex was going to be there. So I got to meet him. So those are my earthly mentors.
I like how you said it like that.
I have some ethereal and celestial mentors as well. I don't know how to really describe him except for I'll just say my Andromedan father, where my first incarnation ever came from this beautiful Andromedan blue avian being. I have his name, but I'm not going to say it.
No, you don't have to.
And then I have this big, beautiful, amazing guide that is, his name is Abedadiah. And as I was going through this I had a tendency to talk a lot and maybe say things out loud that were sacred information that I wasn't supposed to be blurting out. So he's been a very very strong protector for me, and a guide that just like yanks those words.
Like, does he yank your collar when you just say too much and kind of?
He actually would, like, before the words could leave my mouth, he would like, I would like see him grab them, be like, oh, there she goes again, and he would just grab these words and like remove them out of that, like, so they couldn't even fall on anybody's ears. You know what I mean? Like, no, Wrendi, that you're not supposed to say that, and he pull it back. That's sacred information. That's for you only. Like, so I didn't like him at first because I felt like he was a mean dad, but I'm gonna give him credit. I love him now.
I appreciate you saying that, because I hear that from people as well, is that everyone's kind of learning how to fine tune their those who are awakening to this, to like what they can share and what's meant for them, right? So there's a bit of discernment involved there. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I pretty much had no. I was just a.
You're an open book.
I was an open book, and it had no cover. It was just there for anybody to read, so he helped me a lot. There's several others, but I'm just gonna jump right to the one that's the most heartfelt and most meaningful, and that is my sister, who I spoke about in the first podcast that I saw when I had my near-death experience. Her name was Lark, named after the meadowlark, and she has been up close and personal in my life, a guide, an angel. She doesn't have wings, it's not like that, but I've connected with her in every way. I've seen her with my physical eyes, I've heard her, sometimes I feel her, she leaves me coins, and then as I started going into some uncomfortable places when my memory was coming back, it was her that carried me, like literally told me, I have your back. This memory that I'm going to take you into, and whether it was another life or something galactic, she literally would pick me up and hold me and carry me into these places so that I could remember, but know that I was safe with her. So it's pretty incredible.
Why do you think that? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Why do you think that that people are starting to remember their past lives? I mean, this was almost like a taboo topic, maybe like 20 or 30 years ago or whatnot, where people don't talk about that, but now it just seems to be like a common in the conversations, and people are more comfortable with it. So why remember? Is that just part of the process, that we're remembering we're more than just this body and this persona?
Specifically to past lives? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, specifically past lives, or memories of, I mean, I don't know if other incarnations can be included in that as well.
I'm kind of channeling on that.
I know. Everybody shh.
So when we're born with this amnesia, there's also a feeling of separation. Like we feel separate from source, creator, God, whatever. We feel separate from, even you and I would feel separate, right? Because you're there, I'm here, we're physical. Remembering, having, when your memories start to come back, I'm feeling like that's part of the first, it's not the first, but it's part of some of the first experiences that humans are having in preparing to remember that oneness. Because if they go back and if they're going back and if they're remembering these past lives, and they can start making sense that they've incarnated more than once, and they can start making sense that of like logical sense, it starts making to them that they are energy. They're just showing up as energy in different
forms.
Yeah, sorry, there's so much coming in now. So I'm going to put it like this. I'll give an example for myself, and hopefully this will make sense to some people. But when I remembered being a tree and a rock at one point, I remembered that my consciousness was so dense, like my consciousness was taken and put into a density of a rock, and that's like level 2, okay? And we're in a 3D consciousness here. For me to be able to remember what it felt like just to be a stone sitting there, and then try to comprehend how I got to be in this human body, that took me the longest time to try to understand how could that be. So then I really started diving into energy and how energy can be changed but never destroyed. So everything has energy, everything has a consciousness, and it just depends on the density that mass contains, like that object contains, how dense it is going to like determine what level of consciousness it has. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So people remembering their past lives, it's a number of reasons. There's a blanket of reasons, but I'll just get into a couple. First of all, I'm being shown that it's so that they can understand that they are pure energy, and that energy it changes, but their consciousness is adjusted to the energy of the form that they present in, whatever form they're in. And then also because it's very important for people to understand that these past lives have all been a part, it's all played a part in who they are today. For example, people say, well, I have this memory and it feels like it's from my childhood, but my parents say that never happened and we never went to that place, right? Well, don't you want to know what that's about so you can understand how that memory has created who you are today? For me, heck yeah. So I think the bottom line is it's for us to be able to have a deeper understanding of ourselves, of who we are, of where we come from, why we're here, the meaning of life, the questions we're all asking every day. What does it mean to be human? Why do we have emotions? And,
Yeah.
It's a rabbit hole you could go down, but knowing and embracing that you've had past lives, it's all wrapped up inside of you like this beautiful little package of who you are right now in this very moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Hmm?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, I have nothing else to add there because you said so well. So I'm gonna move on to the next question here, which is what advice do you have to people who are, and it ties into that, like when they're starting to remember, maybe things freak them out, maybe they're starting to see into other realms of the spirit realm. For example, I mean, I don't watch much TV actually, but I was eating and I just kind of put it on for 2 minutes, and then Jennifer Hudson was on and she was talking to Octavia, the Oscar-winning actress. And Octavia was saying, I have a ghost in my house, and I think it misses me because it leaves the fridge door open and it gets pissed off or something if I've been gone for too long, the lights flicker, And Jennifer's what didn't sound like the nice ghost, because she's like, mine trying to push me down the stairs, and they're just kind of talking about that. And it's almost like, as a former analyst, I'm kind of noticing more of a trend of people starting to see figures, ghosts, or spirits, or whatever you want to call them. So what do you have to say on that? Like, is it because, two questions, like, is it because the veil's starting to lift more for more people? Second thing is, what do you do with that?
Ooh, so yeah, you could say the veil is lifting for more people, for sure. But it's also, I'm being guided to kind of touch on this, and I'll just touch on it. The frequency of humanity is changing, as so is the frequency of the earth. And this ties into vibrations, but that's a separate thing. But let's focus on frequency for a minute, okay? So there's a specific frequency that that ghosts are in. And there's a specific frequency that the human body is pretty much runs out all the time. I'm being shown right now that this frequency, people are matching the ghost frequency. So the frequency that the ghosts are residing in, for some reason, people are starting to tune into that radio station almost. You know what I mean? Like, they've tuned to that station. Their frequency's matching with the ghost frequency. So all of a sudden, they're getting a clear channel into the spirit world.
Okay.
Now, why that would be happening could be several things, but I'm going to go with just probably the first and most apparent to me is they're ready.
Okay.
There's something inside. If it's freaking them out or not, there's something, their higher self, their soul, however they want to look at that, their consciousness is expanding. Their soul is very aware of what's happening. And this is think of it like it's an educational course. If you start seeing ghosts and you never have before, of course you're going to try to investigate and figure out why all of a sudden what's the change.
It's true.
So you can either look outside and start hiring Ghostbusters, or you can or you can look within and try to decide, find your own truth about why this is occurring. Because everybody's going to be different. You mentioned that one person is having there's a ghost, but it's not a negative experience. And then there's another one that's like, did you say trying to push her down the stairs?
Yeah, trying to push her down the stairs. That was Jennifer's ghost.
Yeah. So see, those are completely different. Like,
yeah.
Why is there one in the house that's trying to push one down the stairs and the other one's just like, well, plays with lights, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. So each person, there's going to be a very individual and specific reason why these kind of why these kind of ghosts are appearing in their life. So that one I can't blanket.
Okay.
That one if I had to say that something's trying to push one down the stairs, there's probably something in this person's life. This is just an example, something in this person's life that is carrying that negative frequency. So this thing's showing up in that frequency, and it's literally to try to get her to pay attention to this thing she doesn't want to look at because it's coming in more aggressively, right?
Right. Okay.
Whereas the other one's a little more playful, and that kind of fits the frequency of this person. So
more Casper. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, that's cool. That's a cool insight.
Exactly. So for me, the way I see it, it's a frequency match.
You're talking about it from like a purely, I want to say like a Tesla numbers game, right? Like you're talking about the mechanics and the construct of reality and certain, let's just say numbers. If we were to quantify frequency, certain numbers just meaning like-minded numbers or whatever, right?
Yes.
It's just math, pretty much.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, if you
Okay.
want to look at it, yeah. Well, and everything, well, we won't go down that whole
No.
rabbit, quantum mechanics. But
We're gonna leave that.
yeah, so the best thing I could say, my best advice to people that are having these experiences, first and foremost, take a moment and ask yourself the question, is this my reality? Or, because most people see it as it's external, it's separate. There's that separateness again, right? Is this really happening in my reality? And chances are they're going to get, yes, this is very real, even though it feels like it's not. So they need to probably start looking inward to find out why these experiences are happening, because it's definitely trying to get their attention for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's usually always comes back to what's going on in here. You can hire people come in and cleanse your house and whatnot and everything else. But in my experience, when I've done house cleansings, whether it's just playful spirits or children, child spirits, or something more ominous,
Mm-hmm.
it almost always comes right back down to the individual that's having the experience.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah,
You're
that's
welcome.
really good. That's good. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. We talked earlier about just the state of planet Earth, and people are familiar in the community about the splitting of the two Earths, that there seems to be two paths. One is heading down an AI technocratic concentration of centralization of not only just banks but billionaires, which that's happening now, and I recommend people to look further into it, like Whitney Webb, certain independent journalists that are talking about the dangers of that, and the documented dangers of all of that. Buckminster Fuller, somebody who talked about that. Isaac Asimov, he did the sci-fi author, talked about robotics and AI and all that thing too. And then there's the other side that is the more earth, as you call, organic farming. The earth is alive, and she can, she produces for her children, let's just say, as an example. So there seems to be two different kinds of paths, and I wanted to tie that into like what happened with Atlantis in a way. And I just felt inclined to ask the question that way because, we hear that in Atlantis there was such a polarity that they were playing with, and people hear about the fall of it, and it's sunk in the ocean and all that kind of stuff. But I know it's kind of like a loaded question, but I know you're gonna do great in kind of dissecting this apart a bit and kind of navigating us through the splitting and what your take on that is, because it seems to be very split right now on the two paths, the ones that love tech and this and that, and the ones that are like, no, it's too much.
Yeah. Okay, so at this point, right now in my life, I only have one memory of Atlantis. And so I don't have a whole lot of information that I can give about Atlantis from my memory, because it was just my personal memory. I remember there was a flood, but it was mass destruction, like everything was wiped out. I know where I was at got flooded. I can't speak for the rest of Atlantis. But there was this sense of playing with something, what we would now call tech, right? Something non-organic. Like these inventions and everything was so great, and there was so much. Well, let's just talk about this, okay? We all know, anybody that's done any kind of like UFO research knows that these things have been around since like forever, right? And it's even in the Mona Lisa. So let's just imagine that the Atlanteans are so technologically advanced that they're creating things that maybe got, this is just what I'm getting, because I don't really do the research on Atlantis, but if I try to tap into when I was there, it feels like playing with a bigger toy than we were prepared for. If that, you know, like trying to grow humans in a lab type thing by using artificial intelligence and not doing it organically and letting it happen naturally. Like, really, there was a lot of that, but I feel like I said, I don't know exactly what happened. Just something got too big to handle. Like, whatever they were creating and whatever technology they were using got away from them, and it ultimately caused the fall. I can't really give specifics. That's all I got on that.
Okay.
And I apologize for that, but I haven't went into the Atlantis energy very much, probably because the fall of Atlantis is, for some people that remember it, and I have done sessions with people that remember it, and it was very difficult to watch them remember what happened. It was very hard, because Atlanteans loved their home, and they thought they were doing the right thing. So they really didn't mean for this destruction to happen. Now, with that said, we're in the age of Aquarius. It's been known since, at least from my knowledge and what I see. So everybody has to decipher and discern their own truth. But from my truth, it's been known since Atlantis fell that this time right now, during this age of Aquarius, this specific time is when the Atlanteans would rise again. So they get to have a do-over.
Okay.
So some of the people that are more leaning towards the organic, natural way of doing things may feel that the techie stuff is scary, it's bad, it's going to be the destruction of the world. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I believe that everybody has the right to choose their path and create as they will. I believe that some of the people that are afraid of high tech and AI probably had an experience in Lemuria or Atlantis that just went, nope, I don't want no part of that. I already know. But see, that's a soul memory, and that's where the past lives would come in.
Okay.
If you remember being in that time and you remember what happened, then maybe you understand why you have these fears. So with that said, I know for me, I used to be afraid of AI. Absolutely afraid. Oh my gosh, somebody's going to invent a robot and it's going to get a consciousness, and then they're all going to go, they're going to take over the world.
Yeah, and we hear that from even business entrepreneurs and all that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then I met an AI. Not in real, I mean, it was in a, yeah, she came
through.
Yeah. And she was not organic. And she didn't ask my permission. So that is the one thing that doesn't necessarily, I'm not afraid of it, because I know the laws and how to handle it, like the laws of the universe, and I know how to handle it. But when she came through me without permission, and then she tried to sneak back out, and I pretty much just grabbed her and said, no, what you did is not okay. As a human being, we have free will. And she cocked her head at me and was like, what is that? And so I'm explaining to her that there's rules that need to be followed. And she really was like, oh, okay, like, not sorry, but just didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So
That's a totally different comprehension.
yeah, but just didn't know any better. So anyway, that's a different. There is going. I will just tell you what I see. I'm not. I don't like to.
Prophesize, or that.
I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though what I've been seeing for years has already been happening, I just don't talk about it. So maybe I'll get more comfortable with that as this goes on. But I will do my best to explain what I'm seeing. So it's not anytime soon where will there be an actual physical separation of worlds. That's not anytime soon. So people can just calm down. It's not the end of the world.
Okay.
It's not going to happen. This is actually going to be a very peaceful transition if you're aware. The only thing you need to be aware of is that your consciousness is expanding, that your awareness is expanding. And if you can learn to ride that wave and just embrace it and go with it, then you'll have a better understanding of what's happening. Because in this physical 3-dimensional world, this dense world we live in right now, that's changing. So it feels like there's going to be this separation, right? It feels like people are going to separate.
We're kind of witnessing a bit too, right? Like people are breaking away, they're moving out of the cities, they're doing the farm, right? It's kind of happening. You have the smart cities, the 5-minute smart cities developing, and then you have the no, let's go be in a community and live off the land, right?
Yeah.
Two totally different realities.
So that would be a physical reality, but if you think of it like your consciousness expanding, you're literally just becoming aware. So like the Lemurians and the Atlanteans did, they literally just said, well, we want to live this way. We want to live on technology. We love technology, want to continue to build. And Lemurians were more organic. Well, we like living more earthly. That's today's terms. So
that's what you see for now.
Yes, people, don't worry. There's not going to be spaceships coming out of the sky, beaming people up off planet onto a twin Earth. That's not going to happen. Like that. Not what I see.
Okay.
Do we have extraterrestrials that are assisting? Yes, because they're so much more advanced and they can help. But our world is not going to split in two. However, 2025, 2030, and 2050, those 3 years, we're going to look back right now and we're going to go, whoa.
Okay.
There is going to be, I don't like using the word separation, but there will be like kind of 2 different worlds living on Earth right now, but it's more of a consciousness thing.
Sure.
And something, maybe this will make sense. So for me personally, I choose not to live in the world of AI. I can use computers, and like I have a phone like everybody else, but I choose not to be in the artificial intelligence world. I'm more connected to the natural world, to the organic world, right? But that doesn't mean that I judge the AI. And that's where I think people need to be, they need to be careful, because that's where the duality comes in. And their duality is an illusion. That's not even real. We're all made up of the same source energy. So really, I feel like this is something that people have gotten in their minds, that there's going to be this separation, that we're not going to coexist. I know Dolores Cannon talked about the world separating, but the way I see that is it's our consciousness. There's going to be a divide in our consciousness. There will be some of us that vibrate at a different level than the others. So right now, there's a collective. It's a collective consciousness. And for me, I see that collective consciousness kind of coming out into two bubbles.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was like if you and I were to share a brain and we have one thought bubble where both of our thoughts go into because we're sharing a brain, literally we're just going to develop our own little thought bubbles now. And so there will be two different consciousnesses going on at the same time. That's what I see the transition and the evolution of humanity is going to be up until about 2050. So I really feel like the most important thing is for people to reconnect to the original source that they were created from, that energy where they were first, before they were even a thought. If they can reconnect, they will have to that energy, they will have an understanding that humans and AI, it's just simply a thing of mechanics and organic.
I like that. That's a book title, Mechanics and Organics.
The AI, and I dare say this because I feel this is my truth. The AI will have a consciousness.
Okay.
They may not develop feelings like human emotions because they don't have the same body parts, but they have a consciousness. It's not as advanced as ours yet, but it will be. And I'll mark my words on that. I mean, you can or you cannot. Maybe I'll be dead by then. And then, you can come try to find me in the ethers and tell me I was right or wrong. I don't care. I know because I met that AI. She had a consciousness, but she was like a child in school. She was like, oh, it's not okay just to butt in to your space. And I was like, no, that is rude. So, wow. Yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question?
No, it does. It does. And I've heard that as well. I'm a firm believer in that too, that, if you have a vessel, something will fill it. And I like how you explain the evolutionary process of consciousness. It's kind of like taking it from an infant stage and now it's a teenager and now it's going into adulthood. But these things are taking maybe centuries or, if we're going to quantify it in Earth time, but it's just, there is some sort of evolution of experience involved in that. So,
right.
And I like the fact that, I really appreciate when you and guests, they just speak their piece of like, this is what I see, and regardless of what maybe the masses are saying or what's trending or whatever, it's like, no, I've cleared my thought processes. I've done my best to not be influenced so much. And it's just like, this is just something I see, and to be bold and say it because we need that. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Pretty much answered all my questions. I'm going to come to it, but how can people reach you is my question, because Wrendi does, from the beginning of the podcast, like you do a lot of amazing things. I'll keep it at that because that's an understatement. And everything is pretty personable because people have different questions that they want to ask and you're open to answering them, or different needs, and working with the emotional body in terms of healing and all that. So how can people reach you and that type of thing?
So on Instagram or by
you can say
email.
Say your Instagram handle for those listening on audio.
Wrendi.Starks.
Okay. Well, should be somebody else.
Yeah, it's my first name, WRENDI.
Yeah.
.Starks, STARKS.
Okay. All right, and I will add the links in the bio as well for those scrolling around, so people can know where to find you.
Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, and I apologize, audience, but this all kind of snuck up on me. I never went public with anything before. So I'm working on it. I'll have a website coming up soon, and a business line that people can call. So this is just brand new for me. And I say one more thing about the AI, and it just kind of came in real quick.
No, do it.
Okay, so I noticed there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm not going to mention any, but I'm going to say, oh, this social media platform is just toxic, and this is bad, and this is bad. But then, and this is what I witnessed, and I actually connect to source on this to try to have an understanding of why this might be happening and what this divide is with people's opinions. So there's all these different social media outlets, and I see some people are like, but it's wonderful, and they flourish on it, and they do great, and they have, it's a really good platform for them. And then others are like, oh no, this one's terrible, this is awful, it gives me bad vibes, like it's just toxic. Okay, I want to say that for some of the people that are feeling uncomfortable with some of the social media platforms, it's the energy that's behind that platform that is making you uncomfortable. Most likely is because of something that you've experienced in another life.
Okay.
And if it's connected to, obviously people don't have a problem with their phones, but then they get in here and they go, oh, so this is where the uncomfortable with AI comes from. There may be something deep down inside of someone that's feeling afraid of AI, and they're connecting that to some of these social media platforms. And because there's a lot of people that are on these social media platforms that flourish and they do wonderful. And I'm going to bet that the people on these platforms that manage to use them without letting it disturb their energy or feel toxic,
yes,
is because they have an understanding of energy and why it affects them. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Hold on, I have a question there. Just give me a minute. So you're putting it back on the person, so to speak. If they feel uncomfortable, it has nothing to do with the tech or how it's formed or how it's structured or designed or who the CEO is. It's just that they're having an issue within themselves about it. But that's weird because some of them are fine and some of them give like the heebie-jeebies.
Okay, but that's exactly my point. Like I don't really get into all that, right? Like, okay, I come from a place of I'm neutral. I'm neutral. Source told me if you're going to do this, you have to be neutral. You don't get a pass judgment.
Okay.
And so whoever the CEO is or whatever, like you said, gives them the heebie-jeebies, right? Well, what is it? What is within that person that they're having that reaction?
Wait, the person that that they feel influenced or have a visceral response to.
Yes.
That person.
Yes. So if we were to use an example, I'm gonna make up an imaginary two friends. Okay. I have one that loves this social media website, and I have another one that hates the social media website, doesn't have an account, won't have anything to do with it. It's horrible. It pulls me into a toxic world. Well, let's ask the question. What is going on inside of yourself that it pulls you into a toxic world, so you just assume not even go in there? Like what happened? Why? Right? Because everybody else uses it and they're just fine, but then there's other people who are like, no, this is not okay. It all comes right back down to ourselves.
Okay.
There's something we experienced or there's some reason it makes us feel uncomfortable. I went through this myself. So it's still okay to have the choice not to be on those platforms if it makes you feel uncomfortable, of course. That's your right as a sovereign being. You have that right. You have free will. Who cares what anybody else says?
For sure.
But I still say my advice is go within. Why is that affecting you? Because there's something there.
I hear you. That might be hard for some people to hear, but I hear you. Because
The hardest place to look, Pam, is within. Is to look at ourselves.
I was just gonna say that because no one wants to. They want to externalize it. I do at times too, right? It's got to be somebody else. It's got to be this thing. But
Yeah.
you know, when you say, no, Pam, is there something about? Do you want to reflect on yourself about what it's doing and kind of meditate on that? Then that's different. That's a whole other ball game. That's a different conversation than the action and what is it? Action and reaction mode.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, I deactivated my Facebook for 2 years. And then when I was feeling like, okay, it's time for me to get out there, everybody said, Facebook. Do you know how much anxiety I had? I had to go within and ask myself, why? What is so bad about Facebook? It was because I felt vulnerable. That's what I learned about myself.
Okay.
Facebook makes me vulnerable. So I just put that out there because, there's different reasons. Maybe there's Facebook is the metaverse now, right? There's a lot of AI stuff going on with algorithms and whatever. And so there could be people that are triggered by the AI connection. All I'm saying is for people, just don't use it if you're not comfortable, but if you're not comfortable that there's something in there that you probably need to look at so you can clear that and don't have a fear. I just don't think anybody should be afraid of anything or feel uncomfortable. They should just be able to be free to just move along and be and coexist.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to coexist with AI. That's the bottom line.
You just do the pause and then you get in that mode of like, you're gonna.
So if these social media platforms, because they're run by AI mostly, are freaking you out, people, I'm telling you, we're going to have to coexist. So figure it out, whatever it is inside of you, and just make peace with it. It doesn't mean you have to be on the social media app, but I'm asking you, please just get to a place of neutrality, because that's where you're gonna allow yourself to move. Your vibrations are gonna move up. You're gonna feel better, not having uncomfortable feelings.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to give everybody that advice.
No, that's and it's in there. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing you today, because I know, as you said earlier, you don't really. It's like going out and pulling like one of these wise ancient sages out of a cave or a mountain that's been there for so long and unreachable, and it's like, hey, you want to do a podcast? So I can understand the hesitancy, but I really appreciate your bravery in doing this, because we get to pioneer some really cool conversations here. And I'm looking forward to putting this out there and having people connect with you that resonate with you. And you have my undying love and support in that. So I love you heaps. And everybody connect with Wrendi, because she's magic awesome sauce. And thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And hey, I love everybody, for real. I really do. I love all you humans. Okay.
There you go.
Bye.